You know, we got a nice Facebook. We got 200 plus customers. Okay, you're no different. You're set up just like the Herbery. Somebody driving by wouldn't know anything different. Hey, I can either go to Growth Systems or I go to the Herbery.
Right. I think that what sets us up different than the black market is our prevalence to be in the light. The black,
what?
Our prevalence to be in the light. We've just tried to go out of our way to stay in the light, be totally compliant. You know what I'm
saying? Hopefully you're not recognized by the police or anybody else or the Washington State Liquor Control Board or IRS or anybody like that, correct?
No, the Washington Liquor Board, when we talked to them, they said, we don't regulate you guys, you're medical. And so I felt like we were under the same as all the medical community. It's like, if you look at Weed Maps, which we're not on Weed Maps because we are not a dispensary like that. We're a consultation service and there's not a platform for consultation services. Why are we not on Weed Maps? You know what I'm saying? But if you look on Weed Maps, you'll find 200 or so medical marijuana places. And what we were trying to do is bridge the gap between the two. The people are looking for medical quality. You see what I'm saying? That's what they're looking for.
So earlier you told me that you understood the medical marijuana laws, that you could be a patient, you could be a caregiver, you can have 30 plants, you can have up to 3 plants. And you can be a caregiver for one person. You acknowledge that, correct? That's what you told me, right?
Yes.
Okay. So how do you get around being a patient for 200 people plus a day?
Well, those people aren't patients. There's people that are seeking the knowledge of a professional.
Okay,
Yeah.
Let's just take out the consultation, the knowledge. But at the end of the day, you are directing your employees to hand over marijuana. So explain that to me. Explain where you have the authority to do that.
I told them it's important to have the cannabis with you since you can legally have it. And to be able to show the person that cannabis, you know what I'm saying? But at which time, once the package is opened and the customer has smelt it and everything like that, the employee can't then leave with that open container and go driving around with it and show each person. Due to our trying to comply with the law, we just leave that cannabis. And it makes sense to me because...
So, but you're delivering, for all intents and purposes, your employees are delivering a product to customers that are coming through the drive-thru 200 plus times a day. They're hand delivering marijuana. That doesn't include the delivery drivers that we followed one day and saw them do about 25 to 50 deliveries. So they can call up, hey, my name is Pat, meet me here, I got money, and they'll come and they'll drive the fancy nice new bags, go, hey, Mr. Moore, here's your weed, and take your money.
Okay. You absolutely have to be over 21,
okay,
you know, to receive the service in general. And then from there,
okay, I get that. But how does that make it legal? How does that make what you're doing legal?
I think it makes it legal because everyone is able to have cannabis now.
So you're right. Last January,
they said everybody
can possess up to an ounce. So even I can possess up to an ounce of marijuana.
Yes, sir.
Correct.
Yes, sir.
But for me to do that, I either need to grow my own,
right?
Okay, and either need to be a patient or a caregiver, and I can do that. Or if I want to buy it, what do I got to do? I got to go to the Herbery. I got to go to Amsterdam. I got to go to these legal places. Okay. I guess I could come to you because I can legally possess it. That doesn't give you the legal authority to distribute marijuana.
Absolutely not. All we could do is just give it to you for free.
You're not giving it to me for free. The drug task force went through that drive-through 14 times. You know how much money we spent? 14 times. I'm gonna guess $20 all the way up to $200. So I'm gonna say on a rough, I'm gonna say probably $1,500. Give or take. I don't know exactly. Okay. Not one time was I given free marijuana. Not one time was I offered free marijuana. Not one time did I say, hey Pat, you have the opportunity to donate. If you don't want to donate, knock yourself out. You don't have to donate. You can take our weed and leave. It was, hey, what do you got today? We got this, this, and this. All right, give me 6 minutes worth. I got $60. That'll be $60.
I guess where it differs is this. Now, this isn't the majority, but a small percentile don't want the cannabis. So you're kind of going the medical route with it, which is you can make a donation or not. But we're not in the service of just giving people weed. We can, but we don't have to. It's not a medical thing.
Correct.
So from
but
there,
you're charging people.
But you could pay for only the consultation. And let's say that you yourself were not prepared.
That doesn't happen.
But did you guys try it? It does happen. Oh, absolutely.
How many people go through that drive-thru and go, hey, I'm fat, dumb, and happy, and can you just, here's $50, can you just tell me about the weed, and I'm going to go on my merry way. I want 5 minutes of consultation.
No.
I'm going to give you $50, and I'm going to walk away with nothing.
It's more like, It's more like, for example, this is about 3 weeks ago, an elderly woman comes through with her son, and she's recently started up a 502 application. Now, what she wants is she gives me $40 for 4 minutes and asks 3 questions. You see? And so I answer her 3 questions, and it was actually at the drive-up. And I answered her 3 questions, and she was adequately impressed. And she said, okay, could I retain you for a consultation further? And we go and have a meeting. I said, absolutely. And so, now, like I said, out of 200 people, it might be only 1 or 0 per day. But nonetheless, that does show that what our service is. You don't always, some people don't smoke weed. You see what I'm saying? She didn't smoke weed, so she didn't want like 4 grams of weed. What's she gonna do with that? Now some people, if I tell them, this is gonna give you a sedative effect, which is gonna allow you to eat, and it's gonna counteract what you're basically telling me. And then, if they're like, well, where do I go to get that? Now here's the problem. The Herbery has failed to provide accurate labeling. They have, man. And so I've went up there and shopped them several times, and I send off to the laboratory, Analytical 360 in Seattle, who we're a drop site for, and not one result has come back accurate. They're either not the right strain, the THC levels are egregiously wrong, like over 10%, which is like, you know what I'm saying, everything. And so if I was to simply say to them, okay, this is the strain you need, ChemDog 4. It's going to give you that zing, but it's also going to pull you back, and at the end, you're going to set down. You know what I'm saying? Now what? They have to go look for that. And in arbitrary, by arbitrary I mean it goes this way and that way, and they're not going to truly adequately understand what I said. The same as if I told you, go grab a red wine. I haven't provided my service. If I already grabbed the red wine for you, then I'm a good consultant. And then from there, it's like, good luck on your date, and with a shake of a hand. And the only way that a person would purchase that wine from me is the only way I could provide that service is if mine is actually over the value of the product. You see? And that's what it is. $10 for a minute of consultation, man, that's a good deal. Like, but it's way overpriced as far as if they were really utilizing that service for to gain cannabis. Do you see what I'm saying? Cannabis is $180 an ounce right now if you buy it. Absolutely. So why would people go through and pay more than that? It's because they want that consultation. I promise you that's it. We dialed it in. It's like fire, fire.
But you're selling marijuana.
I absolutely.
It's a play on words. This is all it is. We can sit here all day, and I can listen to your explanation, but you still haven't explained to me what gives you legal authority to do this. And I'll tell you what the answer is. You don't have a legal authority to do this. Okay? You can say it's consultation. You can say it's donation. You're delivering weed. Period. And you're making money on it. You're profiting. And you have been since April 2013, probably beyond that. So there's nothing you can really tell me that's going to kind of sway my mind.
Yeah.
And I've had a couple of employees even tell me, hey, we have to say consultation. We have to say, man, we really can't say we're taking money. It's a play on words, whatever.
Well, then they're under knowledge, but some of the people might be.
But the problem is, you're the owner of the company. You direct the 20 employees that work for you, correct?
Yeah,
You set the tone, you set the mission, you set the expectations. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm assuming if I talk to all 20, which I'm not going to because there's only 2 or 3 of them here, they're probably under the impression that you have a license, that you're operating legally, and that they're out here trying to make a halfway decent wage, doing what they're doing. And they have no idea Adam Alexander is not in compliance, doesn't have a retail or a retail license, and yes, you might be a patient, and yes, you might be a caregiver, but you can only be a caregiver for one person at a time, and when you dump me, you have to wait 15 days. You got 200 plus people a day coming through here, and I'm going to venture to say that 99.9% of them, you just said 0 to 1 a day, aren't getting weed. Everybody else is getting weed.
Yeah. Well,
correct?
Generally, that they need some sort of cannabis to get.
Correct. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yes.
Okay, so you're providing them weed and consultation, or all the above, but what you're doing is illegal.
Well, we would.
What you're doing is illegal. You do not have the authority to do what you are doing. You understand what I'm saying? You told me that you understand what the medical marijuana laws are, and from what you're pretty articulate, and you verbalized it, and you're pretty spot on.
Yeah.
Okay, where's it say in the RCW that I can have 200 customers a day?
Well, it says that you.
Where does it say in the RCW that
And even
You don't freely give it away. You just told me that. Maybe 0 to 1 a day.
Well, that's the reverse. That's them paying for consultation services without wanting.
Again, it's a play on words, consultation. But the 200 plus people that come here and and I make a point every time I went through there, hey, I want 10 minutes of consultation. All right, that'll be $100. And I don't sit there for 10 minutes. They don't, give me information for 10 minutes.
But you can. That's
really?
Yes.
So I sit there and go, I'm going to sit my ass here for 10 minutes.
You have to ask questions. They don't know what your question is. So the thing is, yes, you get your full consultation. Now, what we said is, what if somebody doesn't want the full consultation? If they want to say,
but regardless, listen, regardless, it doesn't matter if it's a consultation, a donation, or you're selling weed. You're giving weed away. You're selling it for a profit, period, in the store, right? Any jury, any judge, any prosecutor, any defense attorney, anybody in this room right here, regardless of what term you want to use it, you are selling a product for profit. Call it donation, call it consultation, whatever. Okay.
I was under the impression that until July of 2016, individuals who did have cannabis were able to then give that cannabis away to anybody that they want. Now, with that said, a lot of the time the way that the medical people, the reason they need donations is to pay the employees and to pay for the overhead. Obviously here we have employees and overhead. Those employees though aren't taking donations, they're taking payment for services rendered. That way we're able to pay part of our excise tax and payroll tax.
So how much,
money
just
goes in
off the
the
top of your head, how much payroll are you paying a month?
About 30,000
a month. Okay. And out of that, how much excise tax are you paying a month?
Well, I pay like $7,000 a month in Social Security and like that, and then about an additional $7,000, about $3,000 workman's comp, and then
Okay, so I'm gonna, how much are you paying for?
about $7,000.
$7,000 a month is going towards
The state and
the state.
the people.
And you have records of those?
Yes.
We can pull them, which we probably already will. I'm assuming we've already requested that information. So it's gonna show me that you, on average, you're right around $7,000 a month for the last 12 months paying excise tax.
I think so, yeah. But it's all, we have an accountant, a CPA, so I do have a CPA. Man, I've tried real hard to be in the light on this. I contacted the police department and I said, hey, you guys, this is what we've got here. There's nobody that was giving us I asked the Washington State Liquor Board. And then the thing is,
When did you do that?
originally when we were starting up Grocer, about a year into it.
So a year ago when they had the lottery,
yeah.
people could put their name in and
Right.
they're gonna vet people and say,
Right.
okay, who are we gonna give licenses
Right.
to? You were one of the original ones.
Right.
Or you put your name in, you didn't get drawn.
Yeah. Well, I asked them directly. I actually,
Okay. You didn't apply?
to be more real, how it went was the Washington State Liquor Board came. They went to each town and they begged the medical community to come out. They said, black market, gray market, white market, whatever. We just want a peace rally. And they asked everybody for their books. As a premier person in this department, this field, I went to the meetings. I sat and discussed with the Washington State Liquor Board regimens of soil recipes, feed recipes. This is what originally started me this whole consultation idea. I said, if all these people who know nothing about this are getting into this, we should start a consultation service. And amongst that consultation service, I began starting up I-502 grows and dialing in their grows. I've helped a lot of people in town with their grows. Some of them $1 million grows. These guys in Battleground spent $980,000 on plants. I do know that.
They buy those from you?
Well, they bought them from EcoGrow Lighting, who I did the testing and consulting for. I tested and consulted their LED lights.
So on that $980,000 grow, what was your profit?
My profit was negligible, as it was just the LED light testing. But my profit on that was a few $1,000s. I definitely didn't get I should have got 10%. You know what I'm saying? But $98,000 I should have got technically, but I just did. So but there has been a couple of $10,000 consultation jobs. And that's the other thing. So it's not just like providing cannabis for $20 dubs. It's like a lot of these people really do need the consultation service. And if you look, you know what I'm saying?
I'm not debating that. Okay, they might need it, but what you're doing is not legal. Okay.
At any point, sir, if you would have come to me and told me that, we would have ceased. You know,
So you're telling me so what did the Washington Liquor Control Board tell you over a year ago when you said, hey, I'm thinking about getting a license and this, that, and the other thing? Why didn't you follow through and submit an application to do it retail and do it the way it should be done? Because obviously you took the initial step to reach out to them, which tells me that you knew that, hey, I needed a retail license, and if I got a retail license, then everything will be on board and the police aren't sitting here in your room today.
Yeah, yes, sir. I get that.
So they tell you no? Did you decide against it? You didn't even apply for it.
This is what happened was then after that first meeting, after they compiled everything and they felt like their system was underway, they opened up and then they had trouble. They opened up grow and retail at the same time, not understanding you need several months to provide retail. So then there's a bunch of trouble, and then they felt like we got to shut down the medical market. So when we would have applied and was working directly with the Washington State Liquor Board, in Lacey, Washington, they held a meeting where...
Okay, I'm going to cut you off real quick.
I'm sorry.
We're not Lacey, Washington, we're in Vancouver.
Yeah.
Okay, so you knew about the regulations, you knew about the licensing, right? But you chose over a year ago not to follow through, correct?
Well, I was just waiting until
Waiting for what?
the lottery reopened.
Okay, but my point is,
Yeah.
you didn't submit your name, your business into the lottery. You just talked to them. Okay, I don't care what Lacey did. I don't care what everybody else is doing. You reached out to them a year ago, and you just chose not to submit your name for the lottery, correct? And you decided to do this on your own.
The lottery wasn't open anymore at that point. So
So you waited too long, and you couldn't submit. They weren't taking any more applications.
Right.
Everybody's already been chosen. So now you're kind of shit out of luck, right?
Yeah.
So now now what do we do?
And so, but I feel like honestly.
But you knew a year ago that was probably the right thing to do, or a year and a half ago, whenever the lottery was. I don't know the exact date.
Well, but then see, I was only going to say about that meeting is that they came back and at first they said silent on medical. We don't want to change medical. You guys probably know that. So it was in 502, silent on medical. Then they came back with this new amendment, which was eliminate medical, abolish everything, eliminate. And I said, how else can you enforce the word eliminate other than with violence? I mean, really, eliminate. It's a powerfully violent word. And I wasn't the only one that showed up. 700 people showed up to Lacey, Washington. And 280 people signed up to speak. And I was one of the people that spoke out of the 28. We got to go out there. And I said to them then, and by the end of this meeting, both the liquor board ladies were crying and saying, I'm not a monster. These women were going out there like, you're taking the medicine out of my child. You know what? It was just such a powerful meeting. And then from there, what can you do other than wait for the Washington State Liquor Board said, those who are running current medical collective gardens are going to have first dibs at a recreation or at
But even if you want to claim that you're doing medical marijuana, providing a service, you are so grossly out of compliance, it's not even funny.
The medical marijuana laws are so like short and gray
They're
that
pretty specific. When you read it, it's pretty specific. Right? You even told me what they were.
yeah.
You can be a patient for one, you can be a caregiver for one person.
And I am. I'm a caregiver for only one person.
This is your business, you're providing marijuana to 200 people. Explain that. Actually, I don't want you to explain that.
I'm just
We're
gonna
gonna
say.
go
Yeah,
down
I'm just gonna say.
We're gonna go down that rabbit hole again.